Check out thechosenprime.com in the link in the description below for this and other great items.
Welcome everyone to another Radio Free Cybertron review. I'm your host Diecast, and today we have the X-Transbots Masterpiece X Series MX-1 Leader Apollyon, which is their Masterpiece-esque Megatron. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at him here. I'm going to Tarantino this review. I'm kind of going to go from gun mode to robot mode. Never going to transform it again because there are some issues that I'll point out that I'm worried about, and I'd rather just have this in one piece on my shelf as a decent looking Masterpiece Megatron, which I do think this figure accomplishes, and that's how it's going to stay. But I'm going to Tarantino it, and I'm going to show the box last, so if you guys don't care about the box, you've probably seen it in other reviews, you don't have to watch that. Of course, that'll be quick also. Just to go over what he comes with, of course, himself. He has a little stand here for the gun or stock, a couple other gun pieces, and his gun from the movie where he shot Optimus Prime. Also his sword from the movie where he was fighting Optimus Prime. He also does have a mace with a pretty decent length chain. The key to Vector Sigma. And this little replacement chest piece that has a little blue asteroid on it. I believe that's what caused the cosmic rust. And a mind control helmet where he controlled the Optimus Prime. He also comes with some shoulder replacements, which I tried to replace. They were way too tight. I know there's a video out there of someone just moving the arm back and forth a couple of times and all of a sudden the arm was good. That wasn't the case in mine. I must have moved the arm for 5 minutes straight. It didn't matter. And I almost broke the figure, or it felt like I was going to break the figure getting these back off. So I'm glad I got it off without breaking the figure. I am going to try some future polish as soon as I can pick that up. And then there is one other piece, and we'll go over that right away. This is the adapter for building one of the gun stands. And the reason that is this piece right here at the bottom is supposed to plug into here. But the problem with that is a plus type hole, and that is a circle that's a lot bigger than the plus size hole. So this piece just plugs on there. That way you can plug this into the bottom of the gun. That's one of my issues with this. That is a reoccurring theme with this figure, is instead of trying to fix the problems that this has, they made sockets that were too tight, or they made a little adapter piece, or in gun mode what they did, and I believe one of the reasons I have a gap right here is people were complaining that the arm couldn't do a full 360 easily because there was a little peg here. The reason that peg was there for engineering purposes was to hold this together so you didn't get that gap in gun mode. Well, by X-Transbots or the factory cutting that peg off, now in gun mode, I mean, mine will not stay. I have a horrible gap right there. And that is because they cut out that little post. And I'll be able to show you that to you when I transform it into robot mode. Also, this piece on the front that holds his shoulder is loose. That's flopping around. The other issue I have on this is my gun barrel on the front here. There's a little, it's not even a round hole. It's like a diamond hole. No matter how hard I try or how hard I push, this will not, the gun barrel will not peg into it. So I have that gap there that's kind of ugly. It's not bad for me because this will probably never ever see gun mode again, but I can understand why people would have issues with it. I do like that this has a nice spring feel to the trigger, which is really nice. There are a lot of things that they did right with this, and one of those is the look in robot mode, which we'll get to. Just to finish up on the accessories, I think I didn't show you the card. With the tech specs, it's a thick credit card style. The specs are a little confusing because they're dark red, and then the missing is the yellow. But, and they only gave him a 9 for courage, which kind of surprises me. Well, I guess he's the first one to say retreat, so kind of makes sense now that I think about it. So, oh yeah, just putting this into the alternate mode. So these will slide down, and then you can split them. It'll become the legs, and then this plugs in right back here. There you have a little standing gun. I believe that's how it goes. Again, something I'm probably not going to do. It's probably going to sit in the box. It's nice that they included it, but I'm definitely not going to be using it. So there's one other transformation that this can do for a stand. And this part you want to make sure you don't twist, because it is a little plus sign type peg. So I believe this sits up here. You can take this adapter piece off. Or no, I can't. It's stuck on there. Okay, so I got that adapter piece off. I'd use a flathead screwdriver to get that off. So that's another problem with the fix, is they just give you a little piece of plastic like that. That once you put it on, you have to pry it off if you want to take it off. And then this just plugs in here. Like so. This plugs on the bottom here, which is a pretty tight fit, and I'd seen, Optibotimus's review where he had a hard time actually getting that in there. Mine fit, at least it did when I tried it. Now it's going to make a liar out of me. It's something I had to do off camera. The reason is, and this just plugs in on the top there, and that gives him his other gun mode for when he's in robot mode, and he can hold these handles here. The reason I had to do this off camera to plug that in is you might not be able to see it. Yeah, you can see it right there. The plastic up top will slide back and forth, so it makes that peg not the right shape. So, and I'm not sure. It looks like there's only 2 screws holding this thing in, and they're down at the bottom. So that's another design thing, that there should have been a screw up here somewhere to support that, but it's not there. So let's just plug this all back together. And we'll show this off in its meant to be configuration with the gun. So I couldn't get the orange cap off the end of mine. I already got it off Megatron himself, and actually when I took it off of Megatron himself, it took off some plastic or some paint with it. but it doesn't look that bad. So this might be upside down. Yeah. So you want your gun barrel to look like that as opposed to like this. So slide that in. Just like that. And then we'll put the stock on. I'm not sure if you're supposed to come up with the stock. Yeah, it looks like that works. And there you have Megatron in all his full gun, go into Starscream's hands and shoot some stuff glory. So, and it does have the light on the top for the scope, which you can see actually does light up the background. Not a bad gun. If it was easier to get him into gun mode and you didn't have to worry about possibly damaging the figure, I might actually do it a little bit more. It's not a complicated transformation, but it's a difficult transformation, and it takes a while with tabbing it in, which is another reason I'm going from gun to robot mode, is because, as I said in the beginning of the review, this is never going to come out of robot mode again. He does come in robot mode in the box, and I normally do my transformations from the way they come in the box. But with this figure, I just felt it would be more beneficial to go the other way. And that way I didn't have to transform it again, because I really don't want to. And that's how this figure makes me feel. So let's go ahead and get into the transformation. Gonna turn his light off. Gonna turn his light off real quick. And that you can do just by turning that dial on the side. And mine stays on and turns off nicely also. That is another issue some people were having, where they couldn't get the light was intermittent. So I got very lucky with that. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to try and slide this whole section up. Untab these tabs down at the bottom. In the front here, they are part of the arm. And I just felt it release. I'm trying to get a good angle to do this. There you go. What you can see is you can see Megatron's chest starting to come out. And now we have this whole top of the gun section up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to separate the arms, which are popping off the ball joint, which is a problem everyone knows about. X-Transbots' solution was to give us those sockets that, in my opinion, are too tight. These are too loose. I don't know why they couldn't give us the ones that were right in between. X-Transbots, if you're listening, fix this issue. If you can do two more sockets or another set of sockets that's in between these two, it would be perfect. I think it would fix 99% of most people's issues with this figure. So I highly recommend that. Tweet my video to X-Transbots. Maybe they'll pay attention. That may be one of the reasons that I didn't get a test shot, is I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of the figure. So next we're just going to pop this open. You can see there's a little trim piece right there. It came off. It should have been along the back here of Megatron. So I'm just going to try and You can also squeeze these sides, and you can tilt the back up a little bit, and that gives you a little bit more clearance to work with him. I'm going to get a tool in there just to try and get this out to speed everything along. Now if I can work that there we go. Just because I don't want to take up too much of your time. So we're going to slide that out. And then this whole piece has to rotate down. And this is a piece you want to be very careful with. It is very, very thin plastic. And that rotation joint is another thing that worries me about this figure. The other thing is, which I just showed you guys, you know, going the opposite way, but getting this piece to collapse is a nightmare, especially because Megatron's head is on the inside. So essentially what you're doing is his head is sliding down into that chest piece. So there's a lot of areas where his head can... That's too thin, I don't want to use that. There's a lot of areas where his head can get scuffed up, and I've seen that on a lot of people's figures, is that his head has the silver paint missing. You can kind of see right on the tip of his head he's missing some paint, and that's just due to that transformation of his head sliding down into his waist cavity. There's a lot of areas there that can scratch. So that's another reason why I don't want to transform this figure any more than I have to, because if he's mostly for robot mode for my shelf, he's not going to look good. He's not going to look good with a head that the paint's all messed up on. So that to me is a bad design, to be honest. So now that you have that metal piece out of the way, you can slide his arms around. And one goes on one side. Obviously the other one goes on the other side. Just like that. And that's where these clips that flop around come into play. Is they just come out, and then the shoulder piece rotates and it'll clips onto that. Just like so. Same thing on the other side. Which, if your arms pop off, it's a little bit easier. This one, you kind of have to slide out, then get that piece out. And then you can just rotate that around and clip it on. There you go. Now we can come back up to the back. Rotate that piece back up. Close that. And that hides the gap on his back. And that is a very nice touch. Also, I just wish that piece was metal like this. It would have worked a lot better. Like I said, you can angle his chest up just to give yourself a little additional clearance if you need to. Now you have his waist done. We just have to come down to the legs. Flip this piece open. There's two little tabs here that are going to flip out. It's a screwdriver. These are those pieces that tab into the legs when the legs fling around to the front. If you do not have these done, the legs will be loose and they won't tab in properly. So flip them out just like that. Then we just have to come back and separate the legs. flip up these side pieces. And then you want to be very careful when you flip these legs around. Rotate these pieces down out of the way on the sides. And then these are the two metal hinges that a lot of people are having go loose on them. So we bring these around. Oh, that's right. You gotta flip this down. Flip that down. Bring these around. And you'll hear that click. That leg just pops into that tab. There's also a tab right here on the bottom part of the leg that's supposed to tab in as well. I'm being very gingerly with this because these tolerances are pretty tight on these pegs. There we go. So same thing on this side. I'm going to bring this leg forward, peg that in. It gets pegged in the back there, and then the ones on the front. Again, you don't want to force it. You want to be very, very careful with it, because you don't want to break the legs. And it just doesn't want to go in right now. I'm going to extend this leg, try and give me a little bit more room. That doesn't want to extend, of course. There we go. There we go. It's not all the way squeezed together yet, but once I extend his legs, I'll be able to squeeze it all the way in. So let's go ahead and try to extend these legs. Oh, that one came out nice. And try to do the same thing on the other side here. There we go. There we have Megatron pretty much done at the top. I know I have to come back to the arms, but since they popped off, we'll just do them last. And we come down to the legs here. First thing we're going to do, I'm going to take this panel, flip this around, fold that to the back, fold his little back part up, which seems to be on seems to have a spot that kind of sticks on it, which kind of worries me. Feels like another place you have to be very careful with it. Now let's undo some of these panels, which are incredibly hard to tab together. It is possible, but it does take a while. And like I said, it's not a difficult transformation, but it is a tedious and time-consuming transformation. So rotate that up like that. That comes up right there. And this comes up. And these do kind of tab into each other once you get them in the proper place, which I'm not going to... Okay, so I had to pause the video unexpectedly because the battery died. So let's go ahead and get back to the transformation of the legs. On this leg right here, we're going to flip this piece in and around again. Flip this piece up, which likes to stick. And again, doesn't make me feel fuzzy, warm and fuzzy. On the back side here, we're going to compress these leg panels. These kind of, most of them will come untabbed on their own. And then plug them back in at their respective slots. Unpeg that from the foot. Rotate that around. This rotates up. And that does not close all the way, but I don't know if it's supposed to be honest. So there you have his legs, pretty much how they should be in robot mode. You can also go ahead and push the feet in. Then we're going to flip out the heel, rotate this piece up, and flip out this heel piece. Now that is another area, the first time I transformed it, that did not feel nice. It felt like I was going to break that heel or the front of the foot right off when I was bending it back. I didn't, thank God, but I had to stop a couple times and think, do I really want to push this? And then I realized there was really no other way to transform the foot properly to get him into gun mode. So now it seems a lot smoother after that first transformation, but that first transformation was very scary. So now we have the foot transformed. Flip that leg panel back down, and then I did see someone got that panel to sit a little bit more flush. I honestly don't know how they did it, but I don't really need to do it either. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. It doesn't bother me that much when he's... It doesn't bother me at all when he's standing. So, and if you want, you can try and play around with his leg panels to get everything tabbed into each other a little bit better. But for the most part, they just kind of sit there. Want to do one final squeeze on the hips. And they are gapped a little bit, but they're not going to pop off. So he does have a nice rotation on the leg. It doesn't ratchet that way. It does ratchet the other way, but it's nice and tight. So there is Megatron without his arms. Raise up the camera just a tad. And then for the arms, what we're going to do is you extend them this panel down below, fold that in, or down and up. Fold this piece back. And then this piece just slides up and tabs into the back of his arm. And this is another piece I want to give you caution with. This would not slide down for me. I had to loosen the screw just a little bit in order for it to slide. Another part that I felt might break. And on the arm, you can see that was the tab that I was complaining about, that they just cut off, which now you can have a nice rotation at the arm, but, which I don't know. I probably would have rather they kept the peg there, just so it was a little bit better in gun mode. But they didn't, and we have to live with it now. So it seems to me all X-Transbots fixes was stuff that they could either add on or cut off of the original mold, because I believe when the review samples went out that these were pretty much already completed. So maybe not fully assembled, but most of the parts and components were made. So then on his arm also, if you don't flip out the hand, there's one side here where you can slide on his mace. And it is that the hands do not fold in to make this perfectly flat, or I haven't found a way to fold it in so that is perfectly flat. So it is kind of hard to slide this on. You're kind of doing it at an angle. There you go. You can see how this is pointing that way because it doesn't straighten out. But we'll just leave that on Megatron for now. Then we'll find the other arm. You can take the cannon off if you want. This black piece just folds around and folds down. Same thing, extend this up. That gives you the rotation at the lower part of his, right above the elbow. This piece folds up and tabs in. Tab in. There we go. And then this piece folds down and up. And if you want to flip the hand out, and yeah, they're a little tiny ball joint on the hand popped off, or on the thumb. So we'll just pop that back on. Flip that out. You can see I put a nice Decepticon logo on his hand where they had that nice little area for it to go. It just kind of worked out perfect with one of the sticker sets I had. And then this panel up top rotates around and then just comes down, kind of hides that gap from where his hand goes. Pop that back on, and then we'll pop on his fusion cannon. This does have a little slide here for however you have it on his arm, so that way it's centered, which I like. I think that's a nice touch. And then he holds his arm up okay. It's just the side to side that is really loose with the cannon. And all the videos make this cannon out to look like it's really heavy, and it's not heavy at all. I don't know why this is enough weight to make his arm go in, because it's really not that much weight. But at least he can hold his hand out. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna, maybe floor polish it and leave it alone. He's gonna look good on the shelf. He's gonna look great next to MP Prime, MP10 Prime. So, since we're speaking of MP10 Prime, let's go ahead and bring him in for a comparison. And here he is with Prime. And they look very nice together. I mean, in this respect, X-Transbots hit it out of the park. Definitely a really nice pair. Megatron looks like the best Masterpiece Megatron we've ever gotten. So in that respect, I can definitely recommend this figure. I can't recommend it for the transformation, but most people are, I'm assuming, are going to be like me, and they're going to leave this on their shelf next to MP10 Optimus Prime on your Masterpiece shelf. Let's go ahead and get a couple other Masterpieces in here just to compare. So here he is with Masterpiece Chigger, or not Astro Train, and Masterpiece Soundwave. And as you can see, these Decepticon Masterpieces are looking really nice together. Laserbeak I have on the arm. Megatron just because, or Apollyon because he can. They do have a little port on his arm specifically for that, just on this one side, but that's the right side anyway for Laserbeak to pose on, just like he did in the movie. Pop him off. And then also something I told you I'd show off is the Mind Control helmet. Battery's kind of running a little low here. Probably going to skip the box. But by now everyone's seen it. That's the Mind Control helmet that he used to control Optimus Prime with. So you can get Optimus Prime in the shot here. He's kind of the fake Optimus Prime that Megatron was controlling. And I just can't say enough about the look of this figure in robot mode. It absolutely checks off everything we would want from a Masterpiece Megatron. I think they really nailed the design or the look of the robot mode. The transformation is horrible to go through. With all the tabs, it's just so hard to get it into a solid gun mode. Like I said, it's not a fun transformation, but I definitely would recommend this figure just on the merits of the robot mode. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.